welcome back to Versus. My name is Midnight Strike 3625, and today's topic is going to be the comeback albums by two of my favorite bands, Black Sabbath and Van Halen. So, those two albums, of course, being 13 and then A Different Kind of Truth by Van Halen. So, The Different Kind of Truth was released in February of 2012, whereas 4 weeks ago, actually, I reviewed 13 by Black Sabbath, which just hit the shelves, I believe, on June 10th. So, they're roughly close to each other in terms of the release dates, but Black Sabbath's has been a long time coming, let me tell you. Both bands got their original lead vocalist back, and both bands practically returned to form, returned to their heyday style of music making and musicianship in terms of the songwriting, the song structures, and pretty much everything about both albums screams classic Sabbath and classic Van Halen. Not Van Hagar, Van Halen. So, that being said, Sammy Hagar took over for David Lee Roth and Van Halen during the mid-1980s, and in the early 1980s before that, Black Sabbath's Dio took over for Ozzy Osbourne, which he got fired and then he made a successful solo career, which was as successful, if not more so, than Black Sabbath. So, to get into it, 13 feels like, basically pre-Sabotage era Sabbath, just basically thrown together and into a good, just solid album in general. So it's not exactly thrown together in terms of just, lazy cash-in, throw together a bunch of riffs to make it sound like old Sabbath. It actually sounds like old Sabbath. However, it kind of rubs off the wrong way when some of the songs sound exactly like the structure of other songs. For example, Loner sounds exactly like NIB, Zeitgeist sounds exactly like Planet Caravan, and some of the structures just seem to be reused to the point where you can't really tell the difference between each song unless you listen to them, 5 or 6 times over. But I mean, this is for new listeners. So a lot of people said, the Black Sabbath are not going to get any new fans from this, they're just going to please old fans. And that's not exactly a bad thing. I mean, I kind of agree with it, but at the same time, everything on 13 is very well crafted and very decent and very good, basically, and very sound structurally and just appealing to listen to. So they're all good songs. It's just sometimes they feel like rehashed versions of old material. That being said, the lyrics are well crafted and just good overall, I guess. A Different Kind of Truth, different story on the lyrics. They actually went a different route and chose to remake old demos, and some of them were even instrumentals, and they actually added their own lyrics. So, the lyrics aren't very good. However, they just seem very contrived and very kind of cheesy and cliche. But then again, I mean, this is Van Halen we're talking about. They never really had really decent lyrics in the Roth era. However, they did have some pretty cohesive party anthems, such as, John Pot for Teacher, Runnin' with the Devil, and the lyrics on the older material I find to be a little bit more, withstandable, and they stand the test of time more so than these. So, the lyrics are a point of criticism for me when it comes to A Different Kind of Truth. However, I do applaud them and commend them for changing the lyrics and actually putting more work into the old demos instead of re-recording them like Megadeth did on their album 13, which came out a few months before that. So, that being said, I actually do think that they put a lot of effort, a lot of work into recrafting what they had already done on the Zero demos. So, a lot of the things, another thing of criticism I can give is David Lee Roth's vocals aren't exactly up to snuff compared to older albums. He doesn't do that screech anymore, but I mean, hey, he's like 60 or 70 years old, so I'm gonna cut him a break on that one. Most of the songs actually sound very decent. They have that classic Roth-era Van Halen feel to them, and just the riff structures are just phenomenal. I mean, I think it's the best album of 2012, to be honest. Much like 13, most people say is the best album of 2013, which is kind of weird that they named it 13, but, that being said, I digress. So, both albums have a similar production history. 13 is the first album by Black Sabbath in, I believe, 20-some years, and it's the first album with Ozzy Osbourne since 78's Never Say Die, and that was 35 years, so whopping album 35 years in the making. And Van Halen's A Different Kind of Truth, first album since 97's Van Halen 3 with Gary Cherone on vocals. No one really liked that album much. And their first album with Roth since 1984's You guessed it, 1984. So, 20-some years in the making. So both of these albums have a very long production history, and it's basically been just culminating and leading up to this point where both of these albums were released at roughly the same time. So, also, the band history, both singers joined a couple years ago, and, with Black Sabbath, of course, Ozzy joined in 1999, stayed until 97, tried to get something done in 2001, but failed, and then he just left again in 06, rejoining in, I believe, 2010 or 2012, maybe 2011, I'm not sure, sometime in this decade of the 2010s. But, that being said, like I said, 13 was released just a few weeks ago from me making this video. So, long production history, and the band members themselves have one fill-in member. It's all the original members, except for one fill-in member. Bill Ward on drums for Black Sabbath did not want to return due to, not having a signable contract for, I believe, monetary reasons. And Michael Anthony just wanted to join Chickenfoot. He didn't want anything to do with David Lee Roth, I believe. So, quote me if I'm wrong. Don't quote me on it. But Wolfgang Van Halen joined for A Different Kind of Truth. He is, I believe, Eddie Van Halen's son. So, not really sure on that. I know he's related to him, obviously, due to the last name. But I'm not sure if Black Sabbath has a sessions drummer, or if they're going to try and recruit Bill Ward for future albums. It's all up in the air for Black Sabbath. So, does that actually affect the sound, the overall classic feel of these two albums? In some ways, yes. You don't get the same feel in the drums, the same kind of 70s-esque kind of feel to them. And then the technique that Bill Ward uses in his drumming is absent from 13. However, it doesn't really make that much of an impact on the listener's listening experience, but it's still noticeable. On the other hand, you got A Different Kind of Truth, where you're lacking just a significant part of Van Halen's integrity and history, Michael Anthony's amazing backing vocals that you hear in such songs as Dance the Night Away and Hot for Teacher. So, without those, it's still got Roth, it's still got everything else, and Wolfgang Van Halen does prove to be a formidable bass player on this album, and he does do a good job with, filling in, provided the history and everything, but it is still missing from the album, and it's still noticeable. Does it affect the listener's experience? Not really. So, overall, when comparing these two albums, they are very similar in history, production, and the like, but I would probably have to go with A Different Kind of Truth on this one, because that's just the single album that single-handedly blew me away first listen, and it's one of my first reviews here on YouTube. Actually, it's my third, if you include Worship Music and Kicking and Screaming. On this channel, it's my second. So, that being said, you can go check it out if you want, but I'm not that good of a reviewer back then. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with A Different Kind of Truth for this one, but I do believe that 13 is still an amazing, groundbreaking album, especially for Black Sabbath, just getting back into the swing of things, and the lyrics are better on 13, so I'll admit that much. Overall, though, A Different Kind of Truth. So, yeah, what do you guys think? I want to know, so put down in the description, or in the comment section below, and just give me some of what you're thinking. So, this is Midnight Strike 3625, keep calm, and rock on.